and welcome to the HOHNER Harmonica Workshops. Workshop C04, Centering. To center reeds, you need only one tool from the HOHNER service set. That is the reed lifting tool with reed wrench. You need both ends of it this time. A harmonica reed is basically a spring which is affixed at one end over a slot. The reed, when it's blown, vibrates swinging through this slot periodically at a frequency which is determined by its length and by its flexibility. This causes the airstream in the vocal tract of the player to vibrate with the same periodic frequency. These vibrations are further amplified by the form adopted in the vocal tract, and it is the combination of these factors that creates the sound perceived by the listener. In order for the reed to function properly, it's therefore necessary that it can oscillate freely, and what this means is that it is not allowed to clip the slot at any point. There is an air gap around the reed which is extremely narrow. It has a width which is measured in thousandths of millimeters. And so what we're talking about is fairly precise adjustments. In order for the reed to be able to function properly, it has to be centered exactly in the slot. And this is done using the reed wrench at the other end of the reed lifting tool. The simplest way to do this is to look at the reed plate against the light. In order to be able to do this with a chromatic harmonica, you need to first of all remove the windsaver from the opposite side of the reed. You just pull it off like that. When you've removed the windsaver, you look at the reed against a light source. Then you can see the air gap around it, and you can see if the reed is actually in contact with the slot at any point. By plucking it, you can also hear if it's in contact with the slot. It helps, when doing this, to also push the reed into the slot with the thumb so that you can see if, when it's not in its rest position, it's actually pushing against the side. And now what Gabi is doing is adjusting the angle of the foot of the reed with the reed wrench so that the sides of the reed are exactly parallel to the sides of the slot. If the reed strikes the slot at any point, it basically is unable to oscillate. So if this happens, you will not get a note, and you therefore need to center the reed in order to correct this problem. This is the sound of a reed which cannot pass through the slot. And now we straighten it out with the reed wrench, looking against the light source so you can see the air gap. So now Gabi has centered the reed using the reed wrench, and it now sounds like this. As you can hear, it can now oscillate freely again. There are a number of reasons why a reed can become decentered. For example, negligence when removing the covers or the reed plates. Perhaps the instrument sustained some knocks from the side which have knocked it out of alignment. It can also occur when reed offsetting or when tuning. And of course, it's also possible that the alignment can change due to settling of the reed material. This can happen over a period of weeks. All of these reasons can contribute to the decentering of the reed so that you get a reed which clips the side of the slot. This means that learning to center harmonica reeds is one of the basic tasks which you need to know how to perform in order to help your harmonica to function optimally. What we've just shown you can only really be done on reed plates which have been unscrewed from the comb. However, it is also possible to center reeds when they are mounted, and also to center reeds which are on the inside of the comb. With reeds mounted inside the comb, It is really a lot easier to perform this operation if you take the reed plates off. When you have more experience, you can learn which direction you want to push the reed in, but at first it's definitely a lot easier to take the windsavers off and to also remove the reed plates. A lot of the time it's better to use the reed lifting tool, the actual blade part of it, rather than the reed wrench, and use it as a lever to lever the reed into the desired position. Here Gabby is doing this on an outside reed, sliding the blade up the side of the reed and levering it over and plucking it. And now she's going to do it on an inside reed. And here it's necessary to play the note in order to see if it works properly. That's reed centering by experts, ladies and gentlemen.